I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Maryland, our respected Majority Leader, Mr. Hoyer.
The gentleman from Maryland is recognized for 1 minute.
Ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
The gentleman is recognized without objection.
I've been working on this issue almost all of my career in the Congress of the United States. The previous gentleman said, let's do it right. This does it right. This does it after years and years and years and years and years of consideration. I hesitate because I agree, I think almost in whole, with the remarks that Mr. Westerman has made. Mr. Westerman is a member of the Congress that I respect. He and I are working on some things we think are very important to mankind here in this country and around the world in terms of our global environment. America is a great nation. It is a generous nation. I have said throughout the world that America is the least acquisitive great power that has existed in the history of the world. What do I mean by that, acquisitive? We did not fight wars to take property, to acquire countries, to do what Putin criminally does today. In fact, what we did in those wars in which we have participated is built up countries, and they are now democracies. Germany, Japan, Italy, other nations which we have occupied for a temporary period of time to make sure they were free and to help them be free. This bill is about the Puerto Rican people and their island, and to redeem a premise that we have argued to all the world ought to be central to their policies. And that is the right of peoples to self-determination. The right of peoples to say, this is who I am, and this is the political environment in which I want to live. By free votes, not arms, not force, but by the choice of the people. And that's what this legislation does. Puerto Ricans and people of Puerto Rican descent have had an important place in American family for over a century. They contribute to American culture. They help protect America's national security. They support the American economy and our shared prosperity. And they are American citizens. We made that decision because that was our decision to make, whether we were going to allow them to be American citizens or not. Frankly, whether they have any relationship with us or not is our American citizens, American Congress decision. They are right today, American citizens like all of us. For far too long, however, the people of Puerto Rico have been excluded from the full promise of American democracy and self-determination that our nation has always championed. We owe it. We owe it to our own values, and we owe it to the Puerto Rican people to bring an end to their island's 124-year-old status as a U.S. territory. less than us, less than Maryland, less than Virginia, or Oregon, or Texas, or Maine, or Washington State. Yes, they're citizens, but less. 3.5 million people are less. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal. Now, not all people ought to be U.S. citizens because of that comment, but all citizens ought to be equal. That's why I'm for D.C. statehood. 700,000+ people. Citizens, our people. Enfranchised if they move to Maryland, disenfranchised if they move from Maryland to D.C. That's not right. We passed a bill to say that was not right. This is another opportunity to give the people of Puerto Rico to set it right, and we make that decision. The gentleman is correct. We don't have to give that right to Puerto Ricans. We make that decision. And we ought to make it. That's what this bill is about. Making that decision to give our fellow citizens a choice. Their choice, not our choice. The gentlelady from New York, a wonderful, dear, close friend of mine, she and I have disagreed through the years as to what that choice ought to be. But what we agree on is it's not our choice. It's Puerto Ricans' choice. That's why I am proud to bring the Puerto Rico Status Act to the floor today. This bipartisan legislation would organize and fund binding, island-wide plebiscite that would allow the people of Puerto Rico to vote among these three options. Statehood, that would be my option. If I were Puerto Rican and I were living in Port-au-Prince or wherever I was living, I would vote to be a state. But that's not my choice. I don't live there. I'm not in Puerto Rico. San Juan, I said Port-au-Prince, San Juan. It ought to be their choice. That's what this bill does. Statehood, independence, they have a right to do that. They're either going to be a state or they'll have a right to determine their own destiny, their own status. Or, as the bill also gives them an option to do, be a sovereign state with an association with our country. Now, that has to be done through agreement because we have to make that decision as well as the Puerto Ricans. That would have to be an agreement between us. And both sides would have to be willing partners to that agreement. Additionally, it would implement comprehensive, nonpartisan public education campaigns to help voters understand the implications of each option long before any ballots are cast. The gentlelady from New York has made it an essential part of her argument that the people of Puerto Rico have to know what they're voting on and what the consequences of that vote will be. Ms. Ocasio-Cortez has made that same point correctly. This bipartisan bill also includes a variety of oversight measures to ensure that the election is secure, transparent, and fair. I have long believed that Puerto Ricans deserve the right to determine their political destiny. This is not a new concept for me. I don't think it's a new concept for any of us in this Congress. We believe in self-determination of peoples. We believe that dictators cannot impose upon people a government they do not choose. That's bedrock belief for us. That's what this bill is about. a group of House members and senior Puerto Rican officials. I am honored that my former colleague and my dear friend is on the floor with us today. Pedro Pierluisi. The governor has been selected by the people of Puerto Rico. I am honored to be the friend of and ally of the gentle lady from Puerto Rico, who is the resident commissioner from Puerto Rico, who herself has worked tirelessly with Nydia Velázquez, with the rest of us, in ensuring that the people of Puerto Rico have an honest, fair choice available to them to affect their status and to reach the long-sought consensus on a path forward for self-determination. I want to thank Chairman Grijalva. This has been a long and tortuous path because the disagreements about how we get to where we want to get are so difficult. Chairman Grijalva, you deserve great praise from all of us for your patience, for your knowledge, for your wisdom, for your role that you played in trying to bring this to a head. And you've done it, and it's here on this floor, and you're responsible for that. I want to thank the members of the Natural Resources Committee on both sides of the aisle. I want to thank the staff for the work that they have done, hourless, tireless, and difficult discussions, debates, and so much disharmony from all those, both the diaspora and those in Puerto Rico. Strong feelings that had to be brought to bear to reach this consensus. I thank Chairwoman Nydia Velázquez, Representative Darren Soto, who's on the floor and perhaps is going to speak after me, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Puerto Rican resident commissioner that I've spoken of, Jennifer Gonzalez Colon, and you, Governor. You and I have had the opportunity to work together when you were a member of this House. And we passed a bill that this House passed saying that the Puerto Rican people ought to have a choice. So this is not new. The previous gentleman wasn't here in Congress, I don't think then. I don't know that. But I don't think he was. But this is not new. This has not been done haphazardly. This has been done carefully, with difficult efforts made by all parties. All of the people that I've mentioned, I thank for their efforts to reach this historic consensus and action on behalf of the people of Puerto Rico. We're all in agreement that the decision must belong to the people of Puerto Rico alone. Their destiny ought to be up to them. The Puerto Rican Status Act, of which we will consider in just a few minutes, will give them that choice. But they will have that choice only if we vote yes. And if we do not vote yes today, I fear we may not vote yes for a very long time. And the people of Puerto Rico, we be held in a status that I believe the majority of them do not want to be in. Mr. Speaker, I therefore ask, Madam Speaker, excuse me. Madam Speaker, I therefore ask all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to represent the values of America in this vote. The values that say to us that people have the inherent right to self-determination, not to have it imposed upon them by force or by dictate of the Congress of the United States, but to choose a status of their choosing, of their desire, of their vision. Vote for this status bill. It represents the best of American values. we have a moral responsibility to do so. And I yield back.